Hi, this is Gemma Hayes, and you are watching One More Tune. The first album, of course, you have your whole life to write your first album. So that was kind of easy. And I went to New York and I worked with a guy called Dave Fridman, who I was a huge fan of. He's like worked with Mercury Rev, Flamin' Lips, like all these bands that I think are amazing. So made an album with him, and I remember at the time my record label, when they heard the album, they said to me, it's terrible. This is not going to sell, and it's just terrible. So I basically just had I resigned myself to the fact that it wasn't going to do anything. And then just through sort of word of mouth, the album just started to kind of grow legs, and it got nominated for awards, and it won some awards, and it was just amazing, absolutely amazing. And it was great. It was kind of like a real, you know, just like fuck you to the record labels, because it did so well, and they had told me that it wasn't going to do anything. And then the second album, I went to Los Angeles, and I worked with this guy, Joey Waronker, and I got in like a whole bunch of like really cool musicians, and kind of made this. It was kind of like my pop album. And then I made Hollow of Morning, and I did that with my friend, and we recorded it at my kitchen table in Los Angeles and in France, and Carl played on it. And it was just recorded over a year, and it's like this real mellow, I think it's a mellow album, very personal. And that brings me to now. Dublin has sort of served me really well. I came up here from the country to go to college, and I started going to these singer-songwriter nights just to watch people play. I wouldn't play myself. I would just sit there and watch people. And I remember at the time there was like Glenn Hansard from The Frames, Paddy Casey, Mundy, Damien Dempsey, like all these, Irish, they're well known now, but back then, they were just like busking. And I would sit there and watch these people, and I was absolutely blown away by them. And I'd leave and I'd start working on songs, and eventually I went one night and I played a song, and that was the beginning of it. It was just, I went for years every night to this, or every week to this singer-songwriter night, and just I would play and play, and it was lovely because it was like a whole group of us, a whole group of singer-songwriters, and there was something special, there was something magical going on, and we all knew it. There was like this, we were all in love with music, and we all sort of found each other, and we would just play until like 5 in the morning, and it was wonderful. So that was sort of the beginning of music for me here, and then like I dropped out of college straight away. It was like, a lot of the songs were written in Kerry, in like the southwest of Ireland. I rented a holiday home there in the winter months, and it's in the middle of nowhere, and I just stayed there and wrote constantly. And then I kind of write just bits all the time. Some of the songs were written sitting in front of the television on a couch with the telly muted, and I would just look at the images and just goof off and play. So they're like, I just write constantly. There's no sort of like one place. But when it came to sort of making the album, I went to Curreri and put all the songs together and finished them off and all that kind of stuff. I don't know. I mean, I definitely I find the whole idea of kind of longing very inspiring. People long for something. Ultimately, we're all longing to go home, wherever that is, ultimately. So it sort of breaks out in people in different ways. So they have a longing for someone or a place in time where they felt completely whole, or they longed to lose themselves, or they longed to find themselves. So the whole idea of always chasing something that they can't really get, I think is just full of, you know, there's so much that you can write about that. Well, I worked with a guy called David Odlum, who I worked with before on my first EP. So then on this album, everything just worked out. He was free, and he really wanted to make the record. So I just knew that like it was going to be something special. Joe Chester, who's a singer-songwriter from Dublin, and I've been a huge fan of his music, and we're friends. So I asked him if he'd play some guitar and sing, and he was like, yeah, sure. And Carl here again. Carl played bass and keyboards and stuff like that, and then I've been like a big fan of My Bloody Valentine as well for years, and long story, but ended up, you know, getting to know Kevin Shields a bit, and so I was able to get him to play on the album. So it was just fantastic. It was like I did this album on my own, no label, no nothing. So to get all these people involved just blew my mind, you know, that they were just up for doing. Paul, again, he's a drummer that myself, Carl and Paul had a band years ago, just the three of us. So, and then like Paul and Carl and David, they all played on the first album. So we got all those people back in again. And again, you know, Paul was free, just perfect timing, and he was like, yeah, sure, I'd love to do it. And, you know, so it just happened so naturally, you know. I know Paul's doing really well, but they're doing really well in America. What's my next jump? You know, what I want to do next, so I really want to write a piano album. You know, I muck about in the piano. I'm not a great piano player, but I can play. And so I'm going to make like a piano album, which is really scary for me. So it is like jumping off the edge of something that I've never done. And I'm sure it'll be really melancholic. So that's what I'm going to do. And I'm also going to move again. I'm going to move from Los Angeles. I want to go someplace else. I'm getting itchy feet. So there's going to be a few jumps. That's about it, really.